Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you for joining us once again on our weekly um, community get together, sharing of some information, and allowing ourselves to recognize the changes that we are all now um, thoroughly going through. So, as we indicated in January, February, that as we go into spring, we will begin to notice that there are changes in the banking system, there are changes in the monetary system, and the rise of um, terrorism or acts of violence. And we saw that against the children in a Christian school in the USA, and we've seen it in other places. So these changes, this erratic energy that we are now within, is likely to continue. It'll rise like the spring energy that we have now. Every day gets a little bit warmer. Every day is a bit more growth, and the same is true for where we are. The same is true for what we are witnessing right now. So as we enter this month of April, May, June, the kind of areas that I would like to focus on are things to do with our way of life, but also with all the erraticness that we are all now being exposed to, whether it is through the changes in the seasons, or whether it is through um, the impact of the instability, etc., etc. All of these are starting to create a level of underlying uncertainty. And this underlying uncertainty is important to recognize and important to come out of. Why? Because it's the kind of thing that builds up, and until it becomes a problem with our way of our life, the way we live, um, and comes out maybe as some symptoms in within our physical body. So in these times that we're moving into, you will find that the energetic impact impacts us in different ways. Certain fatigue, feeling of tiredness, dizziness, disorientation, but also energy which it kind of impacts the legs, the feet, the lower part of the body, and that's simply because this is the way, this is our vulnerability at this time. So not everyone will experience these, but those who do, remember that this is to do with the actual moment of time that we're in, and it's not necessarily to do with an illness as such. These energetic peaks that we are moving into, and we've been advising about these for months now, that there are these energetic peaks that bring a lot of emotional eruption, and it calms down. A lot of emotional eruption, and then calms down. Um, and these peaks continue to rise. They continue to move and more erratic. And in this arisingness, obviously, emotions, anger, um, uh, irritation, insecurity. These are the kind of things that we have to be cautious of, because this is really where things become a little bit less clear, more foggy, and we take actions which are destructive. And again, with the kind of planetary influences that we're in, and the energy that we're in, and this background erraticness, this background uncertainty, you will find that accidents are more prone. You're more prone to have things suddenly go wrong, suddenly go this way or that way. Not necessarily in a destructive way, but in a way that is sudden, unexpected. Again, not just to do with you, but it is an overall cosmic kind of play that's taking place. As things begin to unfold, and they are unfolding day by day, you will find that there's a level of fear that creeps up in certain individuals, and again that is then projected upon others. So important to have that openness. Not everyone is able to come to terms with what is going on. So the reason that we have been providing this content, etc., is to prevent transformational trauma. So when we go through a change, we don't necessarily see the change for what it is until we come out the other side. So over the last few years, we've had, as a society, the whole global system has been exposed to what can be only described as a psychological torture, which has left its mark in many ways, including in children, including in adults, post-traumatic stress disorder, etc., etc. Those who didn't cope with it. And as soon as that has taken place, the cost of living, energy, etc., the next crisis begins. And in a year, 18 months' time, you will find that this crisis is probably trying to be replaced with another one. Whether it succeeds or not, time will tell. But the idea is to maintain this constant fear, this constant state of stress, so individuals cannot recognize, one, what is actually going on behind the scenes, and two, to recognize what and who they are. And this is where we keep coming back to these talks. So prevention of transformational trauma and change, but more importantly, also the redefining of what it means to be human. And what it means to be human can only be recognized when we realize what it doesn't, what does it mean not to exist. So when we bring the mortality to our awareness, our death, dying process, without running away from it, but we'll see it for what it is, it has a transformational impact on the human being and the way you see life and how you go on through life. So there are two methods, really, two ways of living in this. Those who confront the mortality, see it for what it is, which then reflects back on their life, how they live their life, what they're attached to, etc., etc. And those who see this life to be the only thing, and like a kid in a sweet shop, gather, 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 simply to leave behind, or to end up in a jumble sale the moment you die. So again, the gathering kind of worldview, the pulling things together worldview, while it may be satisfying momentarily, it does not actually provide any lasting satisfaction in any way whatsoever. So, two ways. And the society that we live in is a society that is, or the culture, should I say, is such that this is a question that you are forbidden to ask. It is considered morbid. It is considered what a PC, perhaps, I think, in order to bring these kind of subjects together, or certainly out in the public. But there's certainly some kind of resistance to it. And we have to ask ourselves, why is there this resistance? And you will notice the reason there is this resistance is the culture that we are in values one part of duality over another. So, for example, it values success but not failure. It values youth but not old age. It values education but not experience. It values knowledge but not wisdom. It values wealth but not poverty. And it values health over sickness. Life is a duality. So when you are trying to erase one part of duality, that yes, we are going towards immortality, yes, we are going towards health or whatever it is, this perfect. We deny the other part of duality, the other part of life. Then we become pathogenic. We become pathological, should I say, pathological. The way we live, the way we think, there is a disturbance in, or maybe the word isn't disturbance, but maybe the word is distortion, a distortion in the way you see life and the way you react with life. So, within the cultures and the wisdoms that look at life and death, like all duality in life, is just simply an expression of one. So, spring, autumn, summer, winter, day, night, up, down, in, out. The only thing that differentiates that is your and my mind. It's our mind that provides the differentiation, that this is different from this is different from this is different this. So I want to bring you back to this question: what does it mean to be human, and how is it related to this question of death, dying, etc.? Well, we have to first recognize that within, what is our composition, the human composite? What are you composed of? And there are different elements of it. So the easiest thing, without getting into any real detail, we can say is we have a physical body, and within the physical body, we have an internal system which we can call the mind. And this internal system allows us to have thoughts, memory, intention, and a sense of I am. I am. Right? So, this is within the body, there is this mind structure, and within the mind structure, there are these elements. The mind structure itself is conscious. It is a light upon itself, right? So a child is born, it does not have an egoic mind, right? The ego complex has not been developed, but it still exists, it's still aware. And the same is true when the same is true for us, that when we go beyond this egoic complex, we come to awareness. So if our worldview is that what I am is this egoic complex, which is my mind, my thoughts, my memories, my experiences, everything that is mine, then this, if we think this is what it means, this is what the essential me is, then you will be disappointed. And the reason you'll be disappointed is because this is the bit, if you live in this worldview, then the worldview that makes sense is that when you die, everything goes. Yes, the egoic complex, majority of it will be eradicated. You leave that here, it's stripped from you, right? However, your awareness, consciousness, that which is always there, simply transforms. So um, it's a little bit like here's a story, right? So in a tradition, one of the tradition, a student goes to his master and says, can you explain to me what happens after death? And the master says, go and get me some ice. And he goes and gets him some ice. They put it outside in the sun, and they're watching the ice, and 20 minutes later it's water, and about an hour later it's evaporated. So the master says, does this not answer your question? And the student says, could you elaborate? And he said, yes, just like water changes its state from solid to liquid to moisture, evaporation, and perhaps even a sublime fourth state. The same is true for the human being, that we simply change the state of being. That essence that remains is consciousness. That essence. So if you identify with the ego, then yep, ego is going to be stripped, and that's the end of that little number. However, your consciousness still remains. It transitions, transforms, and goes through its process. However, if through your practices, meditation, or teachings, or whatever, you have an understanding and an experience of what it means to be conscious, what are you aware of? This awareness that you cannot switch off, that you and I cannot switch off. If we have an experience of that, we will then realize that this too is, sorry, not this too, that this appears to be permanent. That's our experience. It is always present, and it is always aware. It's always awake. It cannot be cut. It cannot be closed. It cannot be shut up. It cannot be destroyed. It's always there. Awareness is always there. If we identify this experientially, then we realize that through the transition, something remains, and that which remains is this essential self. Now, recognizing that gives you a level of comfort, but recognizing that also in going through this process, one begins to accept mortality, and that's the essence of it. So there's a great story in the Sufi tradition of an individual who was so afraid of death that he went to his master and said, Master, how can I get rid of this fear of death? I am so afraid of dying, and I am constantly occupied with this. But in a way that this is very uh, impacting on my functions, on my way of being. So, how can I get over this? So his master grabbed a few pebbles, put them in a little bag, and he said, Well, carry this. And the individual said, Well, will this stop my fear? He said, No, no, it won't stop your fear. But what you do is the day the angel of death appears in front of you, because it's a Sufi tradition, that's their worldview. He said, Just make sure you give him this bag. And he said, Okay, I'll do that. So, and lo and behold, 20, 40, 50, 100 years later, this individual comes across the angel of death, and as he hands over the bag and says, Hey, this is for you. I've been carrying it all my life just to give it to you. And the angel of death said, Oh, so you've remembered me throughout your life. How did you live your life? He said, I lived my life with awareness that death will be upon me at some time. And whenever it's upon me, I shall give it this bag. And he said, Well, did you have fear of death? And he said, No. All my concern was to give you the bag. And in doing so, the individual transitioned. And it is said that the gates opened and the transition took place, whatever that means for that Sufi tradition. But what it demonstrates is Pelna Maran Kabul. The first we need to accept mortality. And once we accept mortality, let go of clinging to life. Let go of the clinging. And the letting go of the clinging is first in the acceptance of mortality. And in doing that, you will find that many things begin to change in the way we live our life, in the way we attach ourselves, and things that wind us up and don't wind us up. But most importantly, this is the germination of what it is to be human, not what it means to be human, but what it is to be alive, conscious evolution that is now taking place, not with the mind. The mind is not, or should I say, the ego is not evolving, which is why it's having such a hard time, and it needs to go through this hard time. But it is consciousness is expanding. Consciousness, we're becoming more aware of more. Consciousness is becoming aware of itself too. So we are in this profound change that is perhaps taken, I don't know, maybe once I don't know, several 100,000 years. And you and I and everyone else and all the blades of grass and everything else is participating in that evolution. And in that evolution change, if we have this acceptance that all life is transitory, nothing is permanent, all is change, we will find that one, we're able to glide through life. More importantly, we don't collect too much baggage as we go through. So, mortality, keep it in mind. And meditation allows us to access that space of awareness and to transition, to move beyond the egoic complex. So, if you live in a world, in a culture where the ego is all that there is, then yep, the ego is going to be diminished, destroyed, disintegrated, and deconstructed and stripped. That's the process of death. That's what it is, the death of the ego, right? Because there are two types of deaths. There is a physical death and then the death of the ego. The death of the ego, hardly anyone celebrates, but you can see it very quickly on an individual. The face of a Buddha, the face of a Nanak, the face of Kabir, the face of a mystic, you will find through their face the radiance that they have transcended the death of the ego. So it's not that the ego dies, because the ego is just a illusionary concept. It's just it's like a shadow. So you can't kill a shadow, but you realize what a shadow is. It's a transcendence. So death of the ego is a transcendent. Death of the body, well, that happens to everyone, and that simply means we just reincarnate, go back through the same cycle over and over and over again. So in one of our vichar sessions, we will open this whole subject on what does it mean reincarnate, what does it mean, how does it work, what bit moves on. Because one thing you can't fail to recognize is you are. And if you are, then you came from somewhere. And if you are, you will be going somewhere, right? So there isn't a question of um, um, awareness not being aware. Awareness is always aware. Whether you are aware of it, meaning the awareness is aware of itself or not, that's a separate question. Okay, so um, April, be cautious, accidents, sudden events, um, energy of anger, energy of destruction, energy of change, energy of rapid change, quick change, energy of insecurity, maybe in about 2-3 weeks. Watch the banks and make sure that you've taken the precautions that you need to take the precautions. Things can happen very quickly and sudden changes over and above everything else that's going around us. So caution is the word, but realize that through awareness, so it's a good way of recognizing this is, or exercising this is, imagine if you had a glass of water over your head, on your head, and you were walking. You'd walk with confidence, calmness, but awareness. That's a good method to move into, or should I get engage with existence at this stage. Okay, so let's do a little bit of meditation and see if we can see the difference of going through the mental complex and moving into this other space of awareness. Okay, so as usual, we always begin with our body, making sure the back is straight and upright, closing our eyes. And if you move your shoulders back a little bit, open your chest, and pull your chin in. And just take a moment to notice your posture. Are you comfortable? Do you need to change something? It's always useful to do that. And if you need to change something, then change. So now your intention is to become present. And in becoming present, as we transcend the mental content towards awareness, we collectively join the ocean of silence. We collectively participate in creating a fractal of peace. Okay, next breath in, bring your focus now to your body and notice if there's anything dominant. So normally things that are dominant tend to be aches, pain, tightness, itches. And just take a moment to notice if there's anything in the body that distracts you, that brings your focus, draws your focus to it. Next breath in, bring your focus now to the seat you're on. Notice your back straight, upright, relaxed. Notice the seat holds you in place. And remember, you're embedded. Okay? You're embedded in the here and now. You can't be anywhere else. No matter what you wish, you can only be where you are, surrounded by that which you're surrounded by, held by the ground which is beneath you, and the sky above you. So just allow yourself to be located. by bringing your focus to your seat, recognizing it's held in place, and you can afford to let go. You can afford to relax. From those sensations, if you bring your focus up to your hips, and we scan the hips, so we do the back, left hip, right, and the pelvis. And then gently move your focus down your thighs. Again, all you're doing is looking for any sensation that's a bit dominant, sensing this part of the body, reaching your knees. And then from your knees, you gently move down towards your ankles. Notice your feet. And then the soles of your feet. Bringing your focus back to the seat you're on. Notice your back is straight and upright. Shoulders are relaxed. As you breathe in, you bring your focus from your lower back to your middle back. From your middle back, moving up towards your shoulder blades. And then from your shoulders, just allow your shoulders to soften a little around your neck. And then gently moving your focus down from your shoulders towards your elbows. From your elbows to your wrists. Notice the palms of your hands. Notice the fingers. And then gently bringing your focus towards your eyes. So all we're looking at the moment is a physical space. Notice the sensations around your eyes. Behind your eyes. And then gently becoming aware of the awareness itself. And this awareness can't be switched off. And then as you breathe out, you allow your eyes to soften. Next breath in, moving your focus to your mouth. Notice the sensations within your mouth. Notice the sensations on the roof of your mouth. Notice your tongue. And then as you breathe out, allowing your face to relax. Next breath in, once again, becoming aware of your body as best as you can. This is the physical. Notice the physical. Next breath in, we're going to now move into the internal. So as you breathe in, bring your focus towards your inner space. Just the way you're feeling. The thoughts that you have. Bring your focus towards your mental space. Notice what's dominant there. Do you feel alert or do you feel drowsy? Does your mental space feel clear or does it feel foggy? And then gently bringing your focus towards your chest. And again, we begin to notice the movement of the body in relation to the breath. Breath comes in, chest moves out. Expanding ever so gently. As the chest relaxes, the breath goes out. See if you can notice the rhythm. And now moving your focus as deeply as you can within yourself, right in your very center. Right at your heart. Notice how you're feeling. Settled, unsettled. Sukhi or dukhi. Suffering or absence of suffering. On your next breath out, open your awareness and begin to listen. Allowing any sound, any noise to come to you. And we move from our inner space to consciousness, to awareness. Simply follow the bell. Allow yourself to enter the silence. allowing each bell to move you further and further into the limitless, into the infinite. The more intently you listen, the deeper you go. Stay with the silence, stay with the stillness. Notice the absence of thoughts. And for some, the absence of the body. The absence of fear. The presence of peace. Notice the absence of time and the presence of eternal now. Notice the nothingness at the end of this bell. The emptiness, the formless. Moving beyond the body, beyond the thoughts, beyond the ego. Simply awareness. That undying, unchanging essence. No different from the ocean itself. Presence. Gently bring your focus just beneath your nose, sitting with your breath in silence. Next breath out, expanding your awareness to include your whole body. Notice you're still on the same place you began, held in place. Sensations where your body makes contact with the seat. Aware of your hips, aware of your thighs, gently moving down towards your ankles. Notice your feet, and then the soles of your feet. Your back is straight and upright. Shoulders, arms, hands are relaxed. Your eyes are closed and your mouth is closed. And your face is relaxed. Coming back to your breath. And now as the breath comes in, we sense our body. As the breath goes out, we sense our body. Gently coming back to the physical. The mind is calm. Awareness is present. Breathing in, you sense your body. Breathing out, you sense your body. When you hear the next bell, use this bell to draw few long, slow breaths in, and in your own good time, gently opening your eyes.